Let's see if the synchronizing will work this time. I have to play it through YouTube and double check, so there's a delay. No, that's not what I wanted. Let's go back to home and refresh and see if it comes up. There we go. Yes. Okay, it looks like we're in better shape. Okay. Thanks for hanging in there, Ed. I appreciate it. I wonder if I can share that over here. No, I can't. Okay. Okay. When things go off the rails, good times. Oops. Okay. It's going to be one of those days. So what I'd like to do today is a classic exercise that's usually taught in a lot of perspective classes in order to get people to learn perspective. I'm hearing myself. Turn that off. We're going to do a 1-point perspective off in the distance. So we add 1 point right there. And for this, I'm going to use a straight edge. So if you have straight edges, if you don't have a straight edge like a triangle here, you can use the edge of an index card. Works perfectly fine. We're going to draw some train tracks. A classic exercise is drawing train tracks because they disappear if they're straight off in the distance on the horizon line right at a single vanishing point. So let's do this one. And I've just opened up what's called a multi-view in OBS. And if my thing stops, then we will have discovered that that's the problem. Ha! I froze again. Maybe that's the problem. Change the feed. I'm frozen again. Can people hear me? Is it just my video is frozen? Video. Well, this is sad. The chat overlay, does that work? That works. Just the video is frozen. Okay. Well, the question is that... Oh, it looks like I'm back now. Maybe it is that multi-view. All right, well, I guess I'll go with this one here. Let's see, just me there. Do that. Okay, I guess the question though is, how's my audio? Now I gotta go back to YouTube again. Testing 1, 2. Oh, the audio looks good. Good times. Good times. Good times. Okay, let me restart my recording because I don't need to keep that. Although it will be interesting to test. Let's start the multi-view window again. And if it stops, then I will have tracked down the problem. And starting now. And I'm still moving. That's good. So interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the paper is it's under an incandescent lamp, and some of the other lights are, I have the one over here set to daylight color because it's near a window, so during the day when it's bright out, it mimics that light, and when it's not bright out, it keeps the balance correct. And then the light over there is set to incandescent, and then the lights on the green screen are more of a higher color temperature. So the paper does appear slightly yellow, and I fix that in post. I give it a little bit more contrast. I turn up the gain a little bit so it's a little bit more white. There's also, well, let me turn it on. Let's see. Let's go to this one here. In this picture here, there's a little bit of a purple over here. That's actually from the backlight over my shoulder. So, you know, see if turn on this light, see if that helps at all. See, now that's just a little washed out. Let's do this. White balance. Yeah, the white balance probably all right. Whoa, see now that's orange. There we go. We'll stick with that one. How's that look? Is that better? I think that probably looks better. Okay. All right, we're going to start recording again. Hi, everybody. Today we're going to do a classic exercise for 1-point perspective. I have my piece of paper. I've got 1 point drawn right here in the center, and we're going to draw a set of train tracks. It's a lot of people do this. You've probably seen it before, and here we go. So I start with this one center point, and I'm just going to draw a couple of straight lines. I'm using a straight edge, my triangle. If you don't have a straight edge, you can always use the edge of an index card. Works perfectly fine. So here's one straight line. I'm just going to give myself another straight line right here. We're going to see how this drawing ends up turning out. There we go. So we have these two lines coming towards me. Let's zoom in on my work a little bit so we can see a little bit better. Okay. And this is going to be the starting of the rail, the train tracks railing, or where the train wheels hit. And I'm going to draw here. I'm going to draw right here the actual shape of a railroad track, just so that I have a reference as what I'm looking at. So it's going to be cut off as if we sliced it and looking at it from the front view. So this is about what a railroad track looks like. The flat top, and then it comes down like that, and in like that, and then over. Okay, so that's about what a rail looks like, and I'm going to do another one over here. You know, you don't necessarily need to do this part, and of course this side I drew differently than the other side. This one sort of looks like a goblet. Oh, you can't see that one. There we go. Okay, so there's those how the railing looks. The train track rail looks. And now we can take these points, these parts, and go all the way back to our vanishing point. Just like so. And then this one here. And this one there. Okay, so we should have now these tracks, and this line here, the original reference line, is simply the bottom edge of the flange of the track, the train track itself. Okay. So that's a rough, very linear line just for this exercise, and now we need a railroad tie, which is the piece of wood that goes across underneath the railroad tracks that holds them. So we're going to go across like this, and then it extends out the other side a little ways, and extends out the other side a little ways this way as well. See these? Terrific. Let me straighten that out for you. Right. To me, they're straight. The camera's a little tilted. Let's see what we got here. There we go. That's better. Okay, so we have this edge here. Now this is going to be a piece of wood that's sitting on the ground, or a big log. And so we have a little down action over there, a little bit down here, and then we have one across here. Now, if you remember from the 1-point perspective lecture, in 1-point perspective, we have a couple of rules. 1-point lines will either go horizontally, okay, vertically, or they'll go diagonally to and from the vanishing point. Okay. So here we have our horizontal lines and we have vertical lines, and to give this board thickness, to make it look like a piece of wood that's lying on the ground, we need to have our lines go back from the board towards the vanishing point. And it's not going to be very big. It's only going to be like about that big. Okay. And now we'll do a horizontal line so we know how tall it is here. Now that line in the middle can be nice and dark. So can this one over here, because I know how long it is. But this one has to be a little bit lighter because I don't have a reference line, so I don't know where to stop. So now that I have this line started, I'm going to go from here back to the vanishing point up here. And there's our reference line for this edge. Now we can darken this one up. Okay. And speaking of darkening these ones up, we can also make these lines nice and dark for the tracks itself, because that's our primary lines. We're not going to be doing anything over those. We're not going to draw a train on this exercise. So we don't have to do a lot of erasing, but we want the lines to be darkest here in the front, and then to gradually thin out going further back. I'm using a standard number 2 office pencil for this exercise. We could also use our darker pencils. If you've gotten your darker pencils for the course, I have links on the website to Blick Art Supply for their pencil sets, which we've covered in the equipment class. But for now, I'm using a number 2 pencil. Let's make this one darker over here as well. Okay, like so. So we have our train tracks going front and back. We have our first railroad tie, is what they're called, laying on the ground. I'm not going to bother with pebbles or stuff like that right now. Now we need to place our next railroad tie. Now this one is arbitrary. The placement of your second object is kind of arbitrary. There is a mathematical formula to figure out where it would be, but we would need to know what size this is. So I'm going to make an arbitrary position for the next railroad tie, because being the artist that's drawing the picture, you're allowed to do that. So I'm just going to back up a little bit here, and I'm going to put one right about here. I'm going to go from this reference line over here across to, oh, I'm missing a reference line over here. Let's make a reference line over here. There we go. Very, very light reference line. I think you can barely see it, but it is there. Now I'm going to do a horizontal line to represent the starting of the next railroad tie, starting there. And like so. Okay, so there's the starting for the next one. Now, how far back do we go here? It's a great question. Because they're going to get narrower and narrower. So in order to place that, check this out. If I draw a line, I'll go from here to this corner to there. I have a line that's going approximately that, like that, right there. And a way to figure out where the next one can be is to give yourself a center line down here. Now this isn't vital to do this. You can just do them by eye. But if I have this line here going down the center from here, and it crosses here, it just happens to cross there and meets there. If I go to the back of the tie and make it cross here, I'm going to get a dot right about there. I'm going to cover this again in one of the other lectures that I'm doing, having to do with placing flats on stage. Okay, but there's the back of the next one. Go there, and hopefully they're relatively parallel. And I need an up and down line. And an up and down line over here. Remember, 1-point perspective, up and down, side to side, and back to the vanishing point. But there's the next railroad tie right there, sitting on the ground. Okay. So there's the next one. Now, figuring out where the next one is. Let's take it from this line here, this corner here. We're going to go back through the center line, right where that mark is, and figure out where it ends there. And right there. Okay. So as we go gradually further away from us and towards the vanishing point, these are going to get much closer together. And since they're getting closer together, it's going to make it seem like the boards are getting thinner and thinner, but they're not. They're just working in perspective. I have another exercise that we're going to be doing soon where I took a picture of a boat dock specifically to teach perspective. I'll be setting that one up at another time because I have to load it into the program so that I can bring it up on the screen. So there's this one. Okay. So you'll see how they're getting progressively smaller and tighter, and we can keep on going and doing this. Or we can also do it by eye. We don't necessarily have to always be following the mathematical accuracy, but it does look better. So there's a couple of train track wire railroad ties placed here on the ground and going off into the distance. And we're going to keep on doing this to continue. And I'm going to do the rest simply by eye, just because I don't want to keep everyone for a really long time. And this one looks actually slightly crooked. See that? That's what I get for not doing it properly. But that's okay. When you start getting to the distance, you can start doing some of these freehand, but they will take on a little bit of a wonky shape if you do that. Wonky shape. That's a highly technical term. There we go. And as we get further away, that was way too close. That was way too far apart on that one. And so I'm going to start putting these closer together. That one. This one. The next one. You'll see how they start to really see like they're moving into the distance because I'm getting that much closer with them. Also, we are going to want to keep our pencil sharp because the further away we get, the tighter and smaller that line is going to be. And instead of keeping our pencil sharp, we can also use a harder pencil. This is a 4H pencil, and this is an HB pencil, number 2 pencil. So these sharper lines are going to seem like they're going more in the distance as well. Okay, so I have a bunch of ties there, and I'll let you guys finish those on yours. I'm just throw in a few of these. I can also start doing this and just have them start going off into the distance freehand. Right. They don't have to be perfect. So I'm going to throw in a bunch of these. As freehand as you can get them. They're also getting much lighter in tone. At some point, they'll just blur together as lines without shape. And then at some point, they'll just become an even field of gray or black or whatever, what have you. And we'll get back into that shading. And there'll be just a little bit of side blurriness on either side as we can't see them anymore because they'll be hidden by the railing. Okay. So what goes along the side of railroad tracks? We will often have I'm just checking the Facebook feeds, making sure that this is working. Oops. All right, that was way long ago. Let's see if it's still going. Oh, that's the old one. That one died. Stop. See if this one is live. That one's Maybe that is the one that's live. Am I still on Facebook? I'm seeing if I'm still on Facebook. I'm still on YouTube. Video's live now. No, that one's definitely done. Stop, 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 stop. Okay. See my profile. Is this live now? 26 minutes. Click to expand. Turn on the volume. Yes. Okay. Still working. Good to see. All right. Obviously, I have to edit that part out. Okay. Back to the drawing. So we have our railroad ties. We have our railroad tracks. And now next to the railroad tracks, I'm going to stick in over here to the side. Let's put a phone pole. This is going to be rough. I'm not going to draw it intentionally, at least not this part. Although I can certainly take this and darken it and make sure that it's vertical. So it wasn't a great job. And at the top of the phone pole, we'll give it one of these cross pieces that holds the wire. And those little things on top. There we go. So we have one there. Now, where does the next one go? That's the question. What we do know, as far as placement goes, is that it has to line up, the bottom of it has to line up to a reference line. So we're going to need a reference line. Back to our vanishing point. Just like that. And to the other side, because I made it a thick pole. So it needs to be along this line somewhere. It could be here, which we putting them pretty close together. It could be way back here, which put them way far apart. So we need to figure out where we're going to put it. For this exercise, I'm going to put it right about here. Right about here. Okay. The top, how tall is it going to be, needs to line up to the top of this pole because they're all the same height. Right about like that. Okay, so this pole is going to be about that tall. So let's draw a vertical line going up to there. Okay. So there's the pole. You'll notice it's a little bit thinner than the first one because it's further away. And I use these two reference lines here to give me an approximate thickness for this line. Okay. Now I need a cross piece. How high am I going to make these? You guessed it, we need a reference line from here to about here, right there, it's going to give us a height of right here. How wide do they need to be? You guessed it, more reference lines to the edge of this one, and another one to the edge of this one. And for good measure, we'll do one to the top of this one. So these two have this height. This one doesn't have a height, but we're going to base it off of this one. And this one says how high on the pole it is. So we do a little horizontal line right here, and it's got to go across from here to here, but back here. So the height is dictated by this line, and the width is dictated by this line to that line. From here to here at this height, right there. And then this is this high over here for the thickness of it, and the other line will cross like so, and then down. So there's the cross piece. Okay. And we'll put, I'm going to cheat and just draw those two small things up here. Now, if we really want them in line, we can do more reference lines. Now, where does the next one go? It's a great question. So the next one, we're going to figure out mathematically where they're going to go, just like we did here. Let's find the middle of this pole right here. And so let's see about that side. Let's see, that big to there. The middle is about there. So I'm going to draw a reference line from the center. Very light line like that. If we take a line from here through this crossing point up to the top line, that'll give us the location of our next pole. Just go from here through here to right there. There's the location of our next pole. Now we're going to draw a down line to the next pole. There's the next pole. So the same things happen here. The height of the crossbar was at this line here. I'm going to switch to a sharper pencil. So the height was here, which means the height is right there. And we go over to here, come back over to here, little down thing there, fill it in. Okay. That one seems way too long, but that's what it is. It is a little too long. I probably overshot it, or the reference line isn't exact. Let's find the middle of the next one. So we start from the center of this pole, line it up to here. It's going to be right there. Line straight going down. Okay. Another cross line from here, which is there. Oh, we need a second line. So if you're following along, go ahead and throw a comment in the chat. And these lines are also getting fainter, so I'm not drawing the lines as hard. Next pole, same exercise, straight up through the center to there and down. And there's the middle. As we get further away, you can also start doing a little bit more freehand. Okay, the placement is more important than the quality of your line. Now this one's going to come down a little bit further. And pull down. And the next one here, and pull down. And the next one about there, pull down. And the next one out there, pull down. And so on. See how close they're getting? How's that look? What do you guys think? How does yours look? Is it coming out okay? You can take your time and work it out, work on it. Now we're going to add some cross pieces. I'm not going to even measure these. I'm just going to do these crosses like that. Because by the time you get down to the distance, you don't see them at all. What we do see, what we want to add now, is the wires that would be going from pole to pole. So I'm going to draw a line like that to give the reference to the pole that's over here off the paper. And then a saggy line to that one, and to that one, and to that one, and there, and there. We'll switch to a sharper pencil so the lines disappear into nothingness. Just like that. Okay, and there's double lines because there's two sides to this thing. Thicker pencil. There we go. How's that look? Hope you're liking it. Let's do a scene on this side. Let's put in like a train station. So I'll give myself a reference line. Let me sharpen my pencil. So sometimes it's easier to draw a side view of what you're trying to draw, just like we did here for the train track itself. Let's do a side, a profile view of a platform, train station platform, and make it a little bit deeper than that because it's going to be really close to us. Okay, we'll make it an elevated platform. Here's the side of the building. Here's the building vertical. A little bit of a roof overhang. Just like that. So now we'll do our vanishing point lines. Running our lines from our vanishing point to our points on the building. I don't know how big the building is going to be yet. Okay. Ourselves a little bit of a roof line, and we'll have the roof go flat off that way. Okay. Now I don't really know how big we're going to make this station. I guess we'll make it about that deep. So we've got here a line for the platform where it stops. The building will stop here, so it'll have to go straight up to this reference line right there. Okay, which means the roof line is going to stop here. You know, which means this line is going to stop somewhere over there. Now, I lied before because I got myself a little bit into trouble. Remember I had the rules that was 1 point perspective is either sideways, up and down, or straight back to the vanishing points? Well, this diagonal line is definitely not to the vanishing point. So the problem that I've given myself here is that to get this other this roof to be equal in perspective, we would need another vanishing point way up off the paper over here. So I've sort of got myself in trouble there. So I'm going to change it. Find my eraser. Okay. And we're going to make this the front of the building. And still make this an overhang. But we're going to put a nice billboard over here. And we'll make the roof of the building about here. And we're going to make this a sign saying something like, I don't know, Petticoat Junction. Okay. So this means that this vertical line goes here. There we go. I dodged that bullet. And over here, and we'll make this, I don't know, maybe, you know, a train station from the Old West that'll have clapboards as far as the side of the building goes. So we'll just draw a bunch of lines going off this way. A little trim over here. There we go, like that. So let's give ourselves a door. I'm going to put a mark here. You know what? Let's put a door in the center. This is a great exercise. Let's find the middle of this area. Now, we could do it by eye. Is that the middle in perspective? Is that the middle? Where is the middle? There's a way of finding out exactly where the middle is. Here we go. I'm going to draw a line from this corner to this corner. Now, these are just reference lines. They're guidelines. They're not meant to be in the drawing. Be very, very light. Okay. Well, that wasn't that light. I'll erase it later. And then one from this corner up to this corner. There's the center. So that's the center. I don't know how wide we're going to make the door. We'll make it about... put the center line of the door here. We'll make the door that tall. So there's the top of the door, just like that. Okay. Door about that wide. Now these lines, that's not accurate. We can make it accurate. We would have to do a lot more of these crisscrosses in order to figure that out. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's go back to the center because I want to place a couple of windows centered here. So we'll do the same thing to find the center of this open area. So there's the middle of this side, so the window will go here, and the middle of this side will be here. So there's the middle of this side. So there's a center here, there's a center here. Well, since we've done this, we might as well figure out exactly where the middles of the windows are, or we'll give it some guidelines. So there's the center of this one. So this is how we would do the door as well. So since we've gone this far, we might as well do it. There's that line here. I know it's a lot of diagonal lines. It gets really confusing sometimes. Gotta keep track of them. So here's the middle. This is the quarter line. So that's quarter. No, this is this is half, quarter. That's the eighth line. So we have the eighth line here. We need an eighth line here. Okay, there's the eighth line there. So this is between the center of the window and the center of the door. So this is actually going to be, we're going to put the edge of the door right there. Let's do the eighth lines over here too, because the door is going to be wider than the windows. This will be a double door. Side. So if you're keeping track of these, it might be good to number these. I'm going to number this 1. Let's see, so this is 1. This will be 0 over here. Okay. So this will be half. See that? Zoom in that a little bit. That's a half, which means that this is a quarter, and that's a quarter. And this line here will be an eighth. 1/8. And here is an eighth. Okay, let's see. Eighth is a quarter. Here's another eighth line. I have a whole video on doing fractions using a ruler. So that's an eighth line, quarter line, eighth line, half-inch line, quarter line, eighth line. Here's the eighth line here. So in reality, this is 0, 1/8, quarter inch, 3/8, half an inch, 5/8, 3/4, 7/8, and a whole. Let's do one more between the eighths, the quarter and the eighth here. Now I can do an X here. I'll keep doing the X's. Eighth, quarter. There we go. So eighth. Right there. So that is the 16th. So let's do our window from the 16th to the 8th. And we'll do, from the 16th to the 8th, we'll do the door from the 8th to the 8th. And we'll do the 16th to the 8th over there as well. The 16th, right here. Make the window this tall. And then a reference line. I know it's a lot of work. Out here to the quarter. Reference line here to the quarter. We'll do a reference line all the way back because we've got to make the other window on the other side the same height. And so, close this in over here. So there's the shape of this window. And if we're doing from the 16th, that's going to be between the 8th and the quarter, so it's going to be right about there. Okay, so if we want to do it exact, we would have to mark our lines. There's one, so it's this line right there. Eighth to the quarter. This eighth line didn't go all the way up. There we go. Eighth to the quarter. There's a line right there. So that is the 16th right here. Cross right there. So there is the edge of this door, this window. Right here it goes from this reference line to that reference line. So you see from this reference line to this reference line, that's the height. Okay. And then we did the other one on the 8th line over here, so that'll be the 8th line right there. Same height here. See, we make our line a little bit more vertical. There we go. My lines are a little bit not parallel because this line should be like up like that, which means I've messed that up. But here's the top. Here's the bottom. So basically, in perspective, these two windows are the same size, even though my lines are not exact. If I had a straight edge and I were using a parallel rule or that sort of thing, these would make a lot more sense or be a lot more consistent. There are ways of doing parallel lines using triangles, and that is you could you could tape down a triangle at the bottom of your piece of paper like so. So if you tape this down here, what button did I press? Maybe with down. No, that's not what I want. I want this one here. That one didn't work either. Dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da. There we go. You could tape this piece of paper, this triangle to your piece of paper, and then you could use another triangle across going like that as a straight edge. So this would be the straight edge and keep you going accurate as far as your directions go. Consistent. But like I said, so these windows are the same size in perspective. Now we're going to improve the door. We're going to make the door a little bit better than it was. Let's redraw the lines. We're going to use the 8th line here. And we're going to use the 8th line over here. Okay, so that is the doorway. And it was going to be this tall. Right, and we'll have to erase a little bit in there. That didn't work out well. Use my erasing shield. Right here, the really thin one, and erase the proper line there. If you don't have an eraser shield, you can use an index card for that. But for this really tiny thing, the eraser shield really is the go-to tool. And there's a link to the eraser shields on the website in the equipment page. So there's the door. There's the windows. They're even in perspective. And there's the start of our building. So off in the distance, we can make this, we can add some other things to this, you know, a la Bob Ross. It's your drawing. We can add mountains that would go past here. The horizon line is about there. It goes all the way across. So the mountain range would be here. You can give yourself some clouds. You know, some clouds are closer together. Closer to us will be bigger, and so on. And at some point, we will add a train. We could also add for the outside of a long parallel to the train tracks, and on the outside of the building, we can just give ourselves a roadway that'd be further out there. Okay. So there's a roadway or something of that sort. So there you have it. There is the classic train track exercise, along with some phone poles on the side, telegraph poles, whatnot. A train station in perspective, figuring out where the windows would be with this cross method. We're going to cover more of those when we add flats to our stage. We're going to do a set design using putting our set on a stage and figuring out the size of the flats in perspective. And that's our deal. That's where we're going. I hope this was great, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. Okay, so that is the end of today's live stream. I learned a bunch about Restream and figured out where some things had some failings. Hopefully, those of you that are watching enjoyed it. And I will be back next weekend. I'll probably do some things during the week, but I'm going to repurpose a bunch of that recording and make a more succinct class on drawing this and get rid of all the mistakes that were in there and a few of my ums and ahs. And that's about it. So thank you for coming. Let's see if this chat window works. Let's see if it reaches out into the various different channels, because I do know that when I reply using that chat, it does not get to some locations. Like it just got to, let's see, did it get to, let's see if it got to Facebook or into YouTube. It got to YouTube, but it does not get to Facebook directly. If I wanted to get to Facebook, then if I wanted to show it, then I have to add this chat overlay and then retype my message, or I could show it. Let's close that. And I could show the message that I just put in, but it says it's from Restream rather than from me. So let's see, making it from me. We'd have to make it from my YouTube channel. Thanks for visiting. Oops. But usually I would not be typing into the chat unless I had someone else doing some of this switching for me. There we go. Let's see if it shows. Oh, that's interesting. So it did not show up on YouTube across to the other channel. I guess it would if I were using having it from me at Restream. All right. Well, live and learn. Every day, something new. Have a great week.